Alright, welcome to part 2. So far, I've put about 1,000 miles on this guy, and no leaks. So not using transmission gaskets working so far. I've drained the engine oil and transmission fluid. So I'm going to be changing those. And I'm going to be installing the transmission cooler, and the auxiliary transmission cooler. I went to Ace Hardware and I got these brackets. These are basically a flat T, and I've bent them into shape and shaped them how I need them. These two pieces, this part right here, I'm going to drill 2 holes into the front bumper support, and using bolts and lock washers I'll mount this. So I had to modify one of the holes. Now if you can see it, you can see I had to drill an extra hole, but this is soft aluminum, drills really fast. So yeah, and I'm going to be using this hose that came with the cooler. Looks like I'm going to be clearing all of the body, so there won't be any rubbing. One thing does suck though, I have to cut one of the aluminum pressure lines coming off the condenser to tap into it. Basically create another loop with this thing. I looked them up, they're about $12 to replace, so yeah. But by watching this video you'll know exactly what you're doing, or what to expect. So let's see how this is going to fit real quick. I don't know if you can tell, but this is how it's going to sit. This is the condenser. Those are your standard lines for your transmission cooler. And this guy is going to be basically bolted down in the bottom of the crossman oil bumper support. I don't want it too low because it's going to get battered with rocks and stuff. So, but it's going to be about this height. Of course you can adjust it, you can mount it however you want, that's up to you. This is how I'm putting it in. So I'm just going to mark those holes and drill into the bumper support. Alright, here is mounted. As you can see, it's not too difficult to put one of these in. Just pick a place, and also check your sizes too. If you want a bigger one, of course it's gonna mount probably a bit differently. If you get a longer one, you probably want to go and drill in this area here. There's nothing behind here. Ooh, ouch, shavings. Nothing behind here, so. But remember, there is a wiring harness high up, so yeah, if you're gonna mount it some other way, careful. But you probably won't reach that far. So yeah, now all I gotta do is cut this line here. This one. I'm just gonna cut it like that. And we'll not loosen this, and then turn this a little bit, and that's going to go in here. And then the top line is going to come down and probably loop around and go back in here. There's ways of mounting this differently, of course. Do your research. This is just a simple guide video, so, but this is not like a step-by-step thing. You gotta sort of know what you're doing if you want to even touch this kind of stuff. So anyways, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm thinking of actually going to the top. I don't know if there's any room. There's some wires up there, but yeah, there is a way to go up top. There's a way to go up top. But there's some brackets here. Might be in the way. Nah. I'm just gonna use, the top's just gonna come down here. Or the top's gonna come to this end, should go this way. I'm gonna hook the top, ouch, the top one into this and the bottom into the return. Should work better. So yeah, anyways, let's cut this. First got unbolted. So I've taken this, one of the lines off, the one I pointed at, so now this line is off. And what I did is I cut it. Also, I wanted to take it out and clean it out properly. I didn't want any shavings inside, because I don't want that going inside my transmission. And as you can, I don't know if you remember, this line was like this. There was a turn, like a 45. So I cut that part out, because I want this thing to line up with the hose that's going to turn this way, and then this thing's going to go like this, and that hose is going to go in the bottom part of the cooler. Alright, let's mount this thing back up. Oh, side note, it is a bit difficult to get it out, so you're going to have to find your way find a way to get this thing out. It's really as you can see down there, you see those two white clips, one of the lines is in it. Yeah, it's that sucker's in that. So yeah, it's right next to it and the other clip part. So you're gonna have to work it out. I haven't, like you can see, I haven't disassembled anything. All I did is just put some elbow grease and just basically slowly worked it out. Play around, you'll find a way out. Don't worry. It'll get frustrating for a bit, but it comes out. At first, people thought that you have to take the radiator out or move it out of the way. You can. There's a way to do this, but of course your AC condenser is going to be sort of in the way. You can unbolt that bracket right there. That's below. See that bracket right there? That's the one that radiator is attached to. You see it right there? There's a bolt for it. That one, 10mm. You can't take that bracket off, so you can slide the radiator out of the way. We have to do both sides. And remember, if you have a police version, the power steering cooler is going to be kind of in the way too, because the lines go on the other side. So yeah, right? Yeah, I got it out. So work on it, you'll get it out. Anyways, just squeeze this thing back in. Alright, this is another follow-up. I wanted to put some miles on my car with the new cooler. Make sure there are no leaks. So I was about to show you that, but I found out that my water pump is now leaking. It's a surprise, I don't know. It's seeping through this, not the actual seal, but the bearing. So I'm going to be replacing this as well. And ever since, I also replaced all the hoses. Every single hose in the car is replaced. Well, might as well do this also. To get the water pump off, it's pretty easy. When your belt is on, you want to do is loosen the 4 bolts holding the pulley on first. They're 10mm. Once they're loose, then take the belt off. That way you don't have to hold the pulley to get the bolts off. Unscrew the bolts, and as you can see, this thing is just done. It spins way too freely. And then my next major video, of course, once I get all my parts, I'm going to be replacing the timing belts, timing chains, and then all the guides and everything. As you can see, my pulley seal is leaking. You can see all the black. That's just dirt mixed with oil. Yeah, it's not dripping yet, but it does get on the belt and it sprays all over the car, so yeah, all over the hood. So that's the next project, but right now I'm just going to replace the bolt, or water pump, Jesus. Also, this is a good time to inspect all your accessories. Make sure there's nothing moving. My power steering belt looks good. Alternator looks good. Pulley looks good. Tensioner looks good. Yeah, that's not gonna move. Anyways, let's get this water pump off. It's got 4 bolts. I think they're 12 millimeter. 1, 2, 3, and there's 4 in the bottom. Alright, I got my water pump off. I scratched that. They're 13 millimeter, a half inch. 13 fits a bit better too, so if your bolts are dirty. Yep, and then just need to use a pry bar or a large screwdriver. Careful for when prying stuff. Don't lean against something you're not supposed to, like wires or sensors or anything. Like especially down here. Be careful. So yeah, I'm just gonna let this drain out. And then I'm just gonna brake clean all this area. And it's also a good idea to take some sandpaper and this area here that's sort of kind of clean is where your O-ring for the water pump goes. So it's a good idea to take some sandpaper, like a 2000 grit or 1000 grit, and clean all this up, because you want a really good seal at this part, because sometimes water pumps do leak from here, from this bottom area right here, especially when the car is sitting. So yeah, let's soak some of this so I can let it dry. Alright, I've cleaned this area up, as you can see. It's a little bit of sandpaper action here, just all this so you get a nice clean seal. I am going to apply, actually I did apply some gray sealant. I don't know if you can see it. Not a lot of it, but just enough all the way around the perimeter of the pump. Just as a safety precaution. And I only put this here so I can just keep the antifreeze from leaking in here, so it's all dry. Make sure the area, contact area, is fairly clean, or at least dry for the moment, to give the goop a nice chance to stick. And position your pump. I can use a hammer to tap it in, but first things first, you want to put the bolts on before you do that. Actually, we start the bolts. You can just let the bolts do the job if you want. Yeah, I think these bolts need a little bit of oil on them or something, because they don't fit very well. Just Gonna add a tab of gear oil. This is jack oil, works just fine. Soak off the excess. There you go. Now it's smoother. Okay. Have your socket. Do it carefully, don't force it, because you don't want to misalign it. Have it going sideways. Just do the bottom and the top. If the bolt is going in smoothly, that means everything's fine. And you also watch the gap too. Oops. Make sure it goes in straight. I'll almost bottom out. Yeah, these can go in by hand, I think. If you lube up the bolts a bit, they'll go in really easy. Yeah, I totally did not expect to do this right now, but I think I found it. Just tighten them just a little bit, not a lot. Just you gotta torque these in. I mean, if you've done a lot of bolting and unbolting and bolting, you should be able to tell just enough. I mean, you can torque these, but I mean, yeah, I've done enough water pumps to know pretty much how close I have to be. I mean, I think these go 21 pounds, I'm not sure. Here, let me look it up. Okay, so I was wrong. It's 18 foot-pounds, as you can see, according to Ford manual. So, let's do 18 foot-pounds. Go in the crisscross pattern. And the bottom one. And now the last one. And that's it. Now let's put our water pump pulley on. the holes, line them up. These are 10mm. What I'm doing is just hand tightening them, or just getting them snug. Good enough. Now what I'm going to do is put the belt on, and then I'm going to torque these. Okay, I'm installing my belt. Let me show you how it goes. You should really have a printout over there. But anyways, as you can see, it loops around the power steering, and the bottom it travels to the crank pulley, comes around it, comes over it, comes back up, and wraps around the water pump. Then it travels down, wraps around the tensioner, comes straight down, wraps around the AC compressor, then it comes up, hits the idler pulley, and comes to the alternator. All you do, oops. All you do, like I said earlier, I wish I had 3 hands. Get a breaker bar, something good and big so you can get good level on it. Yeah. If the breaker bar is 3/8, that's good. Well, you can use a ratchet, doesn't matter. This breaker bar is 1/2 inch, so I had to put an adapter on it. But here it goes like that. See, you just push forward. That's how the tension is. So I'm going to try to do this with 2 hands. So as I push the tensioner forward, I get slack for the belt. Actually, here we go. There, my overflow tank is holding it for me. As you can see, the tensioner is now forward, and now I got plenty of belt to go over this. Maybe not. Needs to go forward more. Now I'm letting the overflow tank hold it still, so I can double check, make sure the belt is in all of the grooves. It's not sitting, off to the side or something. Power steering looks good. all the way in. Crank pulley, looks good, looks all the way in. AC compressor, that looks all the way in. Idler pulley, and a alternator. So now I can release my tensioner. Everything looks good. Okay, so now I'm just gonna fill it out with antifreeze and start her up. And I'll jack it up and show you my cool transmission cooler. Also, yeah, I think I need to replace my O-rings on my engine oil cooler too. It looks like they're starting to seep some oil. As you can see, I did the hoses. I mean, all the little ones, like the overflow tank, and then these back ones here. They're actually pretty easy to do. But these bottom ones, yeah, these were difficult, especially the cooler part. This hose that goes into the engine block, that one was stuck. I had to use a knife to cut the hose because it was glued. I couldn't get it off. This one also, and that part, and of course the radiator. I've replaced this radiator before a long time ago because my old one was just too banged up. So the part, the bottom hose that goes into the radiator came off easy, but the cooler was very difficult. I had to cut all the hoses to get them off, and I had to clean the surface because some of the hose was still stuck onto the cooler. So yeah, gotta replace those O-rings, and also another big project coming up besides the timing belt is this manifold leaked a long time ago back here from the rear nipple, and I replaced it with a Dorman, and which caused me to lose power. So I got a factory Motorcraft PI manifold coming, along with a few other little goodies. I got new injectors, I think, new MAF sensor, and I'm also going to be installing a catch can system, because since 250K I am getting quite a bit of blow by, and I've noticed when I've taken the plenum off, I've noticed some oil in the bottom of the intake manifold. So it's obviously getting past and getting sucked into the manifold. Now, there's a PCV valve. It's got a ball in it. I have a new one. I don't know if it's the problem or not, but I'm going to replace it just in case. And I'm going to have two catch cans. One's going to be mounted somewhere here for this side, and then the other one's on the other side. Just so I can get rid of the oil. I don't mind the blow by, but the oil just gets into the manifold and you're just burning oil basically. And it creates buildup, sludge, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, anyways. Alright, so let's fill her up and start it. Also, almost forgot, torque the water pump pulley bolts to 18 foot-pounds. Yeah, find a way to hold this. is not very easy to do. Okay, I'm gonna try to hold the pulley and torque it. Be right back. Quick check. Vehicle's operational. Fan has come on. No leaks. Everything is good. Check engine light. Temperature's good. There's my cooler. As you can see, no leaks. That's how I routed it. Top comes down, loops, and goes back up. And then the bottom one just hits that fitting right there. Later on I'll come up with some brackets to mount the hoses better. But for now this will do. And yeah, you can see it's already got hit a couple of times by some rocks. That's the reason I didn't want to mount it any lower. I might actually redo it, maybe get it a little bit higher. But we'll see how it goes. Alright, so far so good. So that concludes the installation, or all the parts that I mentioned in part 1. So far it's been 1,250 miles total. And my oil pan. Haven't had any leaks. As you can see, it is clean. Later on I'll do a more thorough check. I'll actually jack this car up. Well, I will have to later when I do my timing belt or chain. Alright, see you in part 3, I guess. Bye.